money is just, it's great, but money is just part and parcel of like when you're doing well, it's going to come by itself. So we don't have to chase for money. The more you chase it, the more it doesn't come.
But that's sort of been my plan. How has your last 3 years been, Steve?
Pretty good. Like focusing more, I think in the past 1 year or so, I've been focusing more on crypto. Like kind of like been focusing more on investments, stocks, crypto, like, getting into a lot of early stage crypto companies, doing OTC deals and whatnot. So NFTs as well in particular has been like pretty active in the NFT space. But I mean, now currently the market is kind of bearish. So like, I think it's one of the perfect times to start building. And yeah, we're definitely like excited about what's going to be, the next bull run that's coming. So we're also looking into like developing some of our crypto projects, NFT projects, in a couple of next few years time. But now it's just like, consolidating, just spending more time, understanding the market, doing more research, and also building Capital Club for sure.
Tell me about the Capital Club. Is it going to be a NFT sort of project where like maybe there's a certain amount of passes, or tell me about that?
Yeah, so Capital Club is more like, I'm sure we have built eCom Elites Mastermind in the past, right? So I kind of enjoyed the whole process of building a new community. But this time around, I don't really want the community to be just only focused on e-commerce, because there are so many different ways for people to make money, and e-commerce is just one of the ways, right? And we're looking at how to integrate a lot more different niches into it. For example, like stocks, NFTs, investments, crypto. Now, of course, we're adding like different skill sets, like, equipping people with different skill sets, such as, how to be a salesperson, right? There's a lot of demand for people that needs like high ticket closers, email marketers. So we have all these different topics inside Capital Club, and we want to build a community whereby we help people learn essential skill sets, right? Different skill sets. Not everyone's going to be interested in e-com, right? But of all the skill sets out there, we want to be one of the most complete community. And of course, the courses and all the education there is just part and parcel of being in the community, right? The community, we want to be able to provide a lot of value, right? I think offering a lot of value is one thing that we always want to achieve across all our business. And of course, that goes without saying for Capital Club as well. We want to be able to empower us, like more and more people to become entrepreneurs, right? They start off with like learning how to create wealth, right? Creating wealth can be through a lot of different mediums. For example, Amazon, right? It doesn't have to be drop shipping, right? Drop shipping is just one of the channels to making money through online, right? So, but there's so many different ways of making money online, like affiliate marketing, sales, and a lot of more things. So that's something that we want to leverage, my resources, my network, my friends, people to all come together. And so we're bringing on board like so many like people, people from my mastermind, people from my network to come in and add value to the community, right? So the last thing, because I remember when I started out, like it's so hard to launch a business yourself, right? There's 1,000 questions, you don't have the right community, you don't have the right people to talk to. People were in Facebook groups. Facebook group was great initially, right? It was great because, like you get the right amount of exposure from Facebook, right? If you have like 50,000 members, people see your posts when you posted something. But now it's kind of like, it's restricted. You don't get your full impressions from Facebook right now. So we decided to create a new community that's outside of Facebook. So we're not at the mercy of Facebook not giving us like the expected, impressions. So yeah, I mean, like with all these things that I've thought of, like, it's just relating back to how I got started, what are the challenges most new entrepreneurs, they are starting in the space, where do they seek information, where do they ask information? So we're going to be like kind of like a tight knitted community, like a private community. It's going to be a paid community whereby people could come in, learn various skill sets, different courses. You have live trainings, AMAs by all different like experts, not just us, right? In the past, it's just all about like our content, right? So in the future, it'll be like we'll be on the constant lookout for like people who can really come in and they're really not after money. You know, we're bringing on people who are successful, who have like a legitimate business. You know, they don't really care about making more money through education. They care about more about, you know, adding value to the community, and they want to be a part of like, you know, contributing to like the next generation of like entrepreneurs in the space. So yeah, I've been focusing a lot of my time on Capital Club. So I think it's going to be one of my core focus for the next few years.
That's pretty cool. What was the main catalyst, or what made you want to build the sort of Capital Club and go down this route of building a community and get into the education space?
I think I've always kind of I think the catalyst is more about like, you know, there's always people asking me if I have private groups, like, you know, do I have like Telegram channels that I give trade calls. So I made like my followers a lot of money through crypto, through my calls and everything. And like there's so much demand for people asking to be part of a community, right? And I don't really want to create a community just giving trade calls, because that really defeats the purpose of a community, right? It's not just, I want people to be in there to be able to contribute, collaborate, and we want to be like a community whereby people could find resources, connect with people, find business partners, and all that. And I think the catalyst is more like, you know, I really saw like the effect of having a great community, right? And Ecom Elites Mastermind was one of the foundations that I've set across the years. And education, I've launched an education company in Singapore called LeapVista. We did over 8 figures in the first year alone. And I think it's more like just combining all the experience, you know, all the things that I've done into something bigger. And I thought, you know, like one of my business partners, you know, really thought that if we could offer so much value, like being in such a small community, I think it's gonna like help out so much people. Like, you know, there's groups like, you know, Entrepreneurs Organization, EO. I think it's a global group of entrepreneurs. You have to have like a minimum of like $1 million revenue in order to join them. But like, I feel it's really expensive. It's like 15K or 20K per year. And majority of the people can afford it, right? So if you ask me, like if someone who's starting out, would he have 10,000 to invest? I would say no, right? Pretty much no. And that really made me think like, you know, all the courses out there is like 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. You know, I really wanted to create something whereby people could just pay like really cheap. And it's more like just being part of like the community, because if they make money, they'll be here loyal, they'll be contributing, they'll be giving back to more people, just like how we did it in eCommerce Elites Mastermind. There's a lot of moderators always constantly trying to give back because they have made money through the group. So that's something that we really want to achieve through Capital Club, being able to inspire kind of like, you know, more people to, you know, become entrepreneurs, and of course, equip them with the right education, the right resources, the right partners, the right tools. And they don't have to go like ask, like they don't really have to like, oh, who's the best copywriter? Like, you know, there's like, all right, here's 10, you know, validated, good people, like good quality. They don't have to be worried. They don't have to go on Upwork. They don't have to be worried about being scammed. You know, these are all small things that we want to kind of like see how we can build the whole ecosystem and see how we could really contribute and, you know, being able to, I think, make an impact in like all these people's lives. I think it's something that we have been like trying hard to see what really fulfills us. Like, I mean, I think at this point of time, I think money is just, it's great, but money is just like, you know, it's just part and parcel of like when you're doing well, it's going to come by itself. So we don't have to chase for money. The more you chase it, the more it doesn't come. Right. So we're thinking on how we want to see to have greater impact and giving back to like whatever you know, next generation or people that's starting out, people that's aspiring to be entrepreneurs. We just want to be there for all these people.
That's super cool. Have you seen Andrew Tate's Hustlers University and like the 18 wealth creation? Have you seen his sort of business
Oh
model?
yeah, yeah. We have seen his like program as well. I think he's doing a great job too. Like I think a little bit more controversy side, but I think you know, we have seen his courses, and yeah, I do believe that he has provided value to a lot of like young people, like probably 14, 15, 16 years old. Our niche is a little bit more different, probably like, you know, older people like 17, 18 and above, you know, people who are just like starting out, people who really wants to have really good education. So I've seen some of his courses. It's kind of like really basic. It's like it's some of them don't even have courses. It's like just like, you know, click Discord 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's
Yeah.
it. That's your training. I was like, okay. Um, it's okay, but I don't think really it's gonna have like a lot of impact because you can't honestly learn drop shipping in 5 different videos. I'm sure you know this, right? I mean, there's so much that goes in between learning and execution, right? So I think it will be a little bit hard for people to see success given how basic the trainings are. Obviously, there are people who like took the program, they became athletes of the program, they start getting sales, which is great. You know, I think at the end of the day, what's most important is people making money, right? People, new generation, people who are excited to start making money online, right? You know, because that's the first thing that they feel, oh wow, I actually could really make money online, right? That's the first feeling that validates them, like, oh, this shit is real. Because like when I just got started, I was like, oh shit, is this thing even real? Like, can you sell physical products online? So yeah, I was like, I definitely want to go the more premium route, like higher quality, really legit like trainers who dares to show their face, their credentials. So one of our Amazon trainers that we're gonna bring on board, he has sold his like Amazon business multiple times, 7 figures, 8 figures. So when I talked to him, he was like, he's one of my mastermind students. He had a breakthrough after coming to our mastermind as well, and I told he messaged us like a couple of years ago telling me how grateful he was, like, coming to the mastermind, and he really wants to give back. So I cashed in on my favor like a few years later. I was like, hey man, do you wanna, can I take you on the offer? So he's coming on to teach Amazon, like teach people how to build a brand on Amazon, teach people how to position their brand for sale. And yeah, like I'm definitely more confident having this kind of people who's ready to stand behind their brand. They stand behind their face, like, you know, to teach the courses, and not just like people just, I'm not sure, you have you seen like some of the videos on the quality of those? I was like, I'm
Yeah.
definitely not impressed.
Yeah. They're like PowerPoint slides and there's no face.
No
Uh,
face, very poor quality, very cheap kind of like production. But at the end of the day, you know, if people like it, like I don't think I have much to really comment whether like we're better or they're better. It's more like, you know, what do people want? What kind of value are they getting out of like the community and, you know, the courses, the live trainings and whatnot.
with like all your sort of gain experience with like Elite Mastermind and LeapVista, what's like the solution to creating like a long-term education company where like Netflix, someone would be subscribed for like 12 months, 24 months, and they're not going to join for 3 months and then just unsubscribe and lose motivation? Because building a business is hard. Like when I was selling my program, it was a really solid program, but literally if we had say 400 students, like already like only 350 would even watch a video. So automatically 50 people wouldn't even watch a video, even if they paid thousands of dollars. And then only like maybe 200 would watch maybe an hour worth of videos. So 200 people, half the people didn't even watch more than an hour worth of videos, and it gets smaller and smaller. Like there's a small percent of people who actually launched a store, launched a product. What's the solution to that?
There's no solution. I think at the end of the day, majority of the people are lazy. You can't help people who doesn't want to be helped, right? I mean, even with like our education company, it's live trainings. So people come in, they get motivated. We can force them to create their stores and everything. But how many percent of people really take it to the next level? It's pretty hard because, most of the people that comes to the programs, they have like, full-time jobs, they have a family, they have kids. So I would understand it's challenging for them, in terms of time, but of course, it's also their mindset. A lot of them, it's like, they beat themselves up, they judge themselves, they run some ads that they don't see any sales, and it's not working, or it's a scam, right? So it's really hard to convince people who doesn't want to help themselves, or they are so fixated with like a belief that it doesn't work, right? If they don't find solutions, we can only teach them so much, right? At the end of the day, they still have to be the one that's fishing the fish, right? You can only teach them how to fish. But if they don't even want to go to like the river to try to fish for something, it's not going to work. Regardless of how much education that they're going to absorb, it's not going to help if at the end of the day, execution is something that they're lacking big time in their business. Yeah, we have been pondering about the exact same question. How do we get more people to take action? I think it's really hard. It's honestly a challenge, which is why we did have coaching. We did have coaching programs to keep them accountable. But even like that, people still don't show up. You have our relationship managers calling them like, hey, we have we have an upcoming live training this week. We encountered people who paid us $30K and never even showed up once, not even once. And I was like, oh my God, is this a donation, or you're feeling too much money, or I don't know, man. We've tried every single ways we possibly could know. And I think it's still a work in progress, which is why we thought probably having the community, because for us, the community is not about just learning. It's about having access to privileged information, right? In stocks, in crypto, especially crypto, there's a lot of privileged information where majority of people wouldn't get access to because they're not in the circle, right? They don't get access to deals, for example, OTC deals, private rounds, seed allocations, or pre-seed rounds. All these kind of things are only available to people probably with a certain access to deals. Probably they have a different groups that have all these deals. And we really want to be able to offer all these deals to people inside the group. It's kind of private banking. Normal people who goes to the bank, they won't have access to wealth programs or wealth investment, programs if they're not a private client, right? They're not a private banking client, right? It's pretty, it's sad to say, but a lot of access is only reserved for people with a higher net worth, like private banks and all that. And we really want to see how we could help bridge the gap, giving people an opportunity to be able to invest with all this private deals that comes in our roadmap, or probably our pipeline. We want to be able to offer it to them. And of course we want to build an identity, being part of Capital Club. It's kind of being in Board 8 Yacht Club, right? We want people to be proud of wearing our merchandise. We want people to be proud of being in Capital Club, right? So that's kind of how we want to build the culture, the brand and of Capital Club.
Interesting. One sort of problem I also went into before I sort of pivoted was that when I was sort of trying to grow my sort of education company, it felt like I was always arbitraging media. I was always trying to figure out the best VSL, arbitrage Facebook traffic for X amount, and then it was all a numbers game. And then I ended up becoming like an advertising company. And then the other approach was get a lot of clients from YouTube. Now I'm becoming a YouTuber, creating content and getting customers for the YouTube. And then other approaches were when we were just collecting leads and I was building a sales team. And all of a sudden I was building a whole giant sales team. And I was like, I'm not even focused on education at this point. And it felt like this constant sort of mouse sort of trap where I was constantly trying to, and every time something, it wouldn't, after 6 months, you would have to get a new creative, new funnel, new this, that. Is that something you felt? And is there a solution to that?
I think it's something that I'm not inspired by, like creating a lot of funnels, like constantly being the face of like, pitching the product.
Yes.
It's something that doesn't resonate with me, which is why I kind of stopped doing a lot of coaching. Like I enjoy masterminds because it's more personal, but I don't really want to be like always advertising on Facebook, on YouTube. There's like, especially in Singapore, there's like a very negative connection to people who try to sell you products on YouTube, Facebook, right? They rather watch like Johnson and Johnson or P&G's advertising, like in advertisements, right? They want to see shampoos on their feed more than they want to see something that it could potentially have a change in their life, right? So I think we have moved away from that model, like, direct response and all that. So we really wanted to be able to build not just education, because education by itself is great. There's nothing wrong with the business model itself, but it's like, we want people to come in not just because they want to make money, because they want to be able to like, improve their own business. They want to learn a new skill set, for example, TikTok ads, right? So I've seen like, companies like Foundr, I think in terms of education, I think they have really set a really good benchmark for a lot of like, educators out there. I think they are really probably I would say one of the best, like, companies in terms of education. Great branding, great speakers, really legit, like people coming in to teach. And I think they have done a great job. I know Nathan, and, like, I think he has really pushed the limit in terms of like quality of programs. I've seen some of their programs going through like Facebook ads by Nick, and, like ecom programs, they have like Instagram programs. So I think it's also for them, it's also constant marketing. But if you look at their marketing, it's less cheesy compared to a lot of gurus, right? It's more about, I think that would be the general direction for long term, I would say, compared to like, oh, hey, you want to make X amount of money, it's just like, it's cheesy, but it still works, right? It still works. It's just, does it resonate with like the educator itself? I mean, being in the space for so long, like I kind of like lost motivation in terms of like, being those kind of like cheesy kind of programs. We really want to be able to like really have great programs that have great results with great trainers. So which is why I think they are also one of our models in terms of like how we're setting we're setting our benchmark for our programs. Because in all honesty, our programs are not going to be like, like, oh, buy this program. We're not going to be pitching any program. We're not going to be pitching people, oh, buy our course. No, it's like you come in the community, it's part and parcel. It's going to be free. So I think the model is pretty similar to yours. Like, of course, we charge people being in the community, but we don't plan to charge like, a few $1,000s for like all this. And I think they're going to get a lot of value, which is something that we really, really want to provide. So yeah, at the end of the day, if people get value, people get connections, people are part of the community, yeah, I think the retention would be pretty awesome.
That's super cool. And then when you're sort of working on like a big project like this, do you have your previous sort of businesses running? Do you have a source of cash flow that's sort of allowing you to fund and put time into these new projects?
Yeah, of course. Like, I've always wanted to like be able to own a lot of companies, right? But like in the past few years, like I've been spreading myself a little bit too thin. I have too many companies, I have too many partners. I still have like quite a bit of partners, I think like around 20 different partners across different companies. But at the end of the day, I was like wondering, like I was going through which companies are really taking a lot of time and not getting a lot of results. Like so I started cutting out some of the like the partnerships, the partners, or I kind of like really fully delegated to them. Like not being able to, because I feel bad as well if I'm not able to support them as much as I want to. But nowadays, like I have concurrent different projects running. I have great partners that runs entirely my some of my companies. We have a company that was recently just sold for like multiple seven figures. It's a company I only invested like 50K, right? And it just grew from there, right? So it's pretty good. Whenever I start new projects, it's hard to like, because I've been always kind of like a perfectionist. Like I like to launch things when it's like almost fully really ready, right? I don't launch it when it's like half, right? So like it takes longer for me to launch things, which is, it also takes more money, right? The burn rate is longer. It's longer with more team members. So it's always very helpful to have like cash flow coming in from other companies so that you don't have to be worried about like, oh shit, if the company runs out of cash flow, am I gonna, is this project, right? So yeah, I think always like, like regardless if starting a new one, going to a partnership or whichever, I think it's always good to like, have like a backup plan just in case, like something screws up, right? I'm a big fan of like, diversifying your risk and always having a backup plan. Because if you don't have a backup plan, of course you go all in this project. But if you don't have a backup plan, you'll be scrambling. You would be more stressed if things don't go your way, right? If things don't go exactly of what you envision or what you have planned, you're gonna have resentment. Oh, I'm putting so much time, I'm putting so much effort, things didn't go my way. So I think at the end of the day, it's always good to be proactive in terms of thinking, oh, what are the things that could potentially go wrong? Like, because founders always have founder blindness, right? They always think, oh, my project's the best, which is why I always ask my partners, like, is there anything that could potentially destroy the business overnight, right? The business model is so great, is there any other things we could start poking holes into the business model, into the whole idea of like, where could potentially go wrong? So when problems surfaces, you're not in reactive mode. You're in like, all right, I've anticipated this. Let's see. Like we already have plans to how to tackle this problem. And yeah, I think it will be so much easier and less stressful if you're prepared for it.
Wow. So right now, over the last 6 months, I've went like all in on studying.com. And like with my current cash reserves and we're sort of losing, we're just bleeding out each month. I've got enough cash reserves to probably survive for the next, say, 12 to 16 months. But every month that goes by, I'm starting to lose focus. I'm like, should I open up a dropshipping store to create some cash flow? Should I do some consulting and do an email blast being like, hey, I'll bring in 5 students and I'm like, I need some cash flow because I'm not used to bleeding out every single month. Like for the first 6 months, it felt fine, but every single month goes by, I'm getting more and more nervous. I'm like, should I go back to what I did before and make some cash? But now I'm distracted. And as you said, if I'm diversifying, it's just going to take longer for me to finish on studying.com.
Mm-hmm. I wouldn't recommend like in a sense whereby you go start up like a new store just to get cash flow, because like 12 to 16 months is still a pretty good runway, right? And if you distract yourself from this, you might eventually lose focus on the project. You might potentially lose the enthusiasm or passion for this project, which is going to be one of the main killers for startups, right? Founders, shiny object syndrome, they found something better or whichever. I think if there's things that you could do to like, generate easy cash flow that doesn't require a lot of your time, management and all that, yeah, by all means, please do it. But if it's something that's gonna like take up a lot of time, a lot of your focus, your attention, then it's probably not like recommended, I would say.
Is e-com still a big sort of part of your company and business overall, or has that been sort of on the side?
I would say it's more on the side right now because we really stopped drop shipping. We're focusing a lot on brands, Amazon, like, we have products in the baby niche, which is more like a recurring consumable product, right? People come back month to month. So revenue is pretty stable, like in a lot of my brand companies, right? So I don't really spend a lot of my time there with like my partners, my team members. They pretty much run the show. So like my role is more like, all right, let's see at the end of the month, let's see all the numbers, what are the new, what are the potential product pipeline that we'll be launching this year, how's R&D going. So we have like our own R&D team, like formulation, taster, like we let like our customers test out potential new products, and we get a lot of feedback from there to see how it goes. But I think like I'm at the stage whereby I'm learning how to quickly multiply my wealth rather than creating wealth, because like, in the past few years of e-com and everything, I think I've kind of like pretty like stable in terms of like, income streams. We have a lot of different companies that's bringing us cash flow. So I think crypto was one of the best things that happened to us. We have been able to got in a lot of deals, a lot of like great projects. That there was like a project that invested like $500,000. It became like 2.5 to 3 million in less than 6 months. So those are money that like, when I compare it, it's not that I don't like e-com. It's more like, is there a more efficient route of making that amount of money whereby, we could just use money to make more money for us, right? In the past, it's like, oh, you have to put in so much time, you have to manage people, you have to do, you have to import things, you have to have capital, you have to have inventory, you have to deal with chargebacks. I mean, the whole thing, right? But obviously, I just have to click a few buttons to invest $500,000, right? But how do you get there? You have to create your wealth first. Then once you create your wealth, what do? You try to multiply your wealth. After you multiply your wealth, what do? You try to preserve your wealth, because you don't want to be like, oh, making like 10 million bucks and blowing all of that like in a few years, partying, bad lifestyle, up your health. Like I'm at a stage whereby I'm taking a lot of care about my body, mind and soul, doing a lot of personal development, a lot of like leveling up in terms of like human awareness and human behavior, understanding, negotiation, like communication with friends, partners, family members. Those are all things that like, you don't really have a lot of time to focus on when you're in like money making mode, right? Those shit, like money making is more important. So I think as times goes, like it really shifts my priorities. Like, like right now I'm leading more like a balanced kind of like lifestyle. Like, I go to the gym, I take care of myself, I take time off for myself, I go on vacations and all that. But when I was starting out, it's like, oh my God, it's like, pure hustle, right? Pure hustle, late night. And I think it's a phase for every entrepreneur, right? Every entrepreneur has to go through this phase of like learning their ropes, how to make money, learning how to make more money, learning how to multiply their money. And of course, there's a lot of entrepreneurs that don't go the full cycle as well, right? They make some money, they start acting like super baller shit, like, and start spending money in clubs, crazy amount of money, clubbing, women, like probably like drugs, like cars and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's like, cars and all that. It's good when you have really stable income and like, like don't buy for the sake of just buying, right? Like for me, it's like it's one of my dream cars for a long time, like Aventador. So I kind of bought it. Like, it's just kind of really to scratch the itch. But at the end of the day, I kind of realized those are things that's like not really important to your personal development. Once you get it, it's like, oh, I bought a shirt, like I wore it a few times, feels good. What's next? It's not something that's sustainable to like keep going. So you really need to be able to see what drives you, like what are your values, where do you want to go, what's your destination, what's your vision, right? And of course, it's hard for people because a lot of people don't really know what they want and why they want it, right? A lot of people just know that, oh, I want to make a lot of money, but why do you want to make so much money for? Like, why they don't find it, which is why they are always so easily burned out from like, they meet some challengers and, oh, this shit, it's not worth my time. So like I've been studying a lot. I've been trying to level up myself more in terms of like all these different skill sets, and it feels good, like being in a state of like calm and being able to observe like different business models, different business, different like skills and all that. I think it's been pretty much more fulfilling than just chasing after monetary things like money, like cars, like partying, showing off with like a lot of hot chicks and all that kind of stuff. I think like I've kind of moved past that stage already, like, pretty much this few years. So yeah, embarking on a more fulfilling and empowered kind of like journey, I would say.
That's so beautiful. Like over the last year, I have been doing more of things that I enjoy, traveling and really just figuring out the perfect formula and balance for myself. And then I created this formula where I just, it's like a routine I do every single day. And then I had this like 14-day, like I was just at it every single day. I was getting lots of sleep. I was balanced. I wasn't using my phone too much. I did cold showers. It was like a perfect sort of routine. And I constantly tweaked it, and it took a year to get to this point. But it was strange. After 14 days, just before I had a scheduled holiday trip to the snow, my motivation just dropped. It was just like I just woke up and I was sort of doing my routine out of habit and out of discipline, but spiritually I think I was burnt out. I was like doing things on autopilot for a bit because I know it wasn't like a mental or physical sort of exhaustion because I was getting like 9 or 10 hours of sleep. But then I went on the holiday trip and that definitely reignited things. But after I came back from the holiday trip, I think I got a flu and my body sort of just crashed on me for a bit. But it felt like I did find a perfect formula. But even with that perfect formula, after 14 days, 20 days, 30 days, I have to probably go on a holiday or something to reset. Or what have you found? Is there a perfect balance?
I would say if you lose motivation, it's probably because it wasn't your identity. You didn't embrace your identity. Like you missed the most important step to understand what's the identity that you really want to represent for yourself, right? You're kind of like using mind power, like willpower, mind power to force yourself to do that. But if you go deeper into understanding why do you want to become this person, right? Why do you want to like do all these activities, like all this, like, what kind of Andy do you want to become, right? So for me, like I want to become like fit Steve, right? I want to be fit and active Steve. So that's the identity that I want to represent, because I've always said that I really don't understand why people go to the gym. It's so boring. You just go there and lift some stupid weights, right? Like I don't know why people enjoy running marathons, right? So much willpower going on to push yourself to complete. Like I can't do marathons right now. But I read a book, I think you could check out this book called Atomic Habits. Like it changes my perspective into like understanding whereby you want to have like habits that aligns with your identity, right? Like if you're doing like just surface level, like, oh, I want to look good, right? It doesn't, like, you're gonna eventually lose some motivation. Some people could push through with like like willpower and all that, but eventually they get burned out because that's not the identity that they believe in themselves and they're not representing. It doesn't inspire them to become that version of themselves. So if you figure out that, then oh wow, it pretty much all aligns. All right, why do you want to become like fit and active, Andy? Why? You find out the reasons, right? Reasons is where, like, the why is what drives you. It is like, if you integrate it with your identity, that fuel is going to be sustainable. It's going to be consistent, right? You won't feel so like out of place. You won't feel burnout, right? But as always, I think there's no perfect formula in like your morning routine or whichever. I think it's more about not going too crazy. Like what I've noticed is like baby steps. You know, one of my coach told me that it doesn't matter if you're doing 30 minutes of meditation or 2 minutes of meditation, right? It's getting the habit in, right? Getting the habit. So that time I'll say, oh, I have no time to do like freaking meditation, right? And then say, you have 2 minutes, right? I say, yeah, 2 minutes is easy. Then get the 2 minutes in. So once you are good at 2 minutes, you can increase it to 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, so on and so forth. Because the thing is, like, all humans don't really like to be really pushed into taking on a new habit until it's like really, really familiar. So if you're creating like a perfect routine, you're taking like you're using your pure mind and willpower to push through, but you're not enjoying it. You're not seeing the benefits of it, like in short term, because there's only 14 days. You're not going to be able to see, oh, like did I feel better, right? So for example, I do cold showers too. Like sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't, right? I don't make it like mandatory. I have to do it every single day, but it's something that I feel that, oh, it's helpful. It helps with my energy. It helps me with waking up, and I want to do it. I know why I want to do it because I know it's beneficial to my energy, right? It makes me feel good, right? So it's something that I've always constantly tried to, tweak as well. I'm trying to like see what works. But I think recently my energy, my mind, and mental has been really good. So I've been feeling pretty awesome every single day, like being fulfilled with my work, being able to like connect with friends, and of course I'm happy to see you as well. Like like I'm always proud of all my students who has gone on and like did really well. Like I'm always proud, and I love to connect with everyone, once in a while to kind of like understand how's everyone doing. So those are the kind of impact like I want to constantly be able to like do, like, being able to like help make even small changes, right? I mean, if like you could take whatever I taught you guys to like really expand and make money, that's way better than you guys giving me money, like, after you guys made money. Like, it's all about caring. It's all about like, understanding that we were able to, provide value or touch some people's lives. Sometimes I go to events, people just come up to me like, thanks, Steve, like, thanks for inspiring, like, I've been stuck in this. Yeah. Like, thanks for inspiring us to like, thanks for showing us what's possible, like, and I love that. I love that feeling of being able to connect and provide value to people. I think it's part of my values to be able to contribute and of course feel good about it.
Yeah, I remember when I sort of first discovered you and I joined the group and I messaged you. I was like, oh, can I join this mastermind? And you replied, and I was like, wow, like I wasn't expecting you to reply so soon, and I had trouble setting the payment over to you, and you're really cool and patient. You didn't try to like, there was no scarcity. There was like, no, like you have to do it today. Like, I think it took a week for it to come through. And then when I met you in Thailand, you were so nice and down to earth and chill. And it was just amazing to see someone that was, as successful as you, just be so nice and down to earth and open and just kick it with the whole group.
Yeah, I think like, I don't think like it's right to be like, I mean, people that don't know me or probably seen my ads, they probably think, oh, Steve is like, he's a show off, like he drives his Lambo, like, he shows his numbers. But when people really come to my mastermind, they spend time with me and everything, they would probably have a really different perspective of me, right? I mean, there's like a side where it's purely just for marketing, right? It's like you don't get marketing or eyeballs if you're boring, right? I mean, that's kind of like, I mean, people come to my mastermind probably because they are in my group. They've seen my numbers. They've seen my how we scaled our stores and all that. And I think it's fun. Like, I don't believe that one person should be like cocky or arrogant or like, just because he's successful, because there's so many people that are like way more successful than you in the world. And I believe it's like it's how I think there's a saying in Mandarin that, like, I think it was more like the crops. When the crops grow more, like, like it starts to bend. It's kind of like, you be more like humble when you're even like richer or more successful. So that's kind of like how like my parents have taught us to be more humble, and of course, like, being able to be successful in our own ways, and being able to provide value and contribute, like, in different ways to like different, so much people through our education, our podcast and all that. It really just it's different compared to when just like, just grinding our own stores and everything. It feels really different being able to, like, add provide value. I think that's one of the key things that kind of pushes me through in wanting to set up Capital Club, because I know if we could really set this up properly, the amount of lives and the amount of people's lives that we could touch and transform would be tremendous.
That's super cool. One last thing is, I don't know, is this something you go through? When I'm on Instagram, like in our space, we're just surrounded by people that are really young and doing really, really well. So even though I'm young and I sort of know I'm doing well, but when I'm in the dirt trying to build something new and I have this long-term vision that's probably not going to come into fruition anytime soon, and I'm just on Instagram and I see all these other people that are younger than me, doing bigger things than me, all of a sudden I'm like feeling bad. I'm feeling down for a bit, and I go off Instagram. I might uninstall the app, but it's like, it's weird how that happens. And in our space, we're just surrounded by people that are doing really well and have all these cool things and cool lifestyles. What's any advice on that, or is that something you go through as well?
I would see it more as motivation, like, oh wow, these guys can do it. So it's more about your own lenses on how you want to see things and interpret things, right? If you feel like if you really don't feel comfortable like seeing those things, then uninstall it, right? Don't give yourself like ways to make yourself feel bad, because everyone has different lenses, right? It's like, but of course, it will be good to be able to adjust your perspective when seeing those things, and how you can use that as a power or motivation to you. Like, all right, this guys, I can do it much better. So when I started drop shipping, I remember when we saw first saw people doing like 30-40K days, they were like, oh my God, so good, right?
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, and we beat the record in like a week. I was like, oh wow, it doesn't seem so hard, right? Like, and we started scaling, started being more aggressive and all that. So, but if we looked at that and makes ourselves feel bad, we probably wouldn't even want to do so, right? I think it's always good to be able to inspire yourself. Like, I think that's one of the main factors of like being passionate, being enthusiastic about the business that you're doing. Because if you're just purely just going after money, it burns you out eventually. You feel like demotivated, like you feel like, oh, it's like, are you providing, like, is your course really providing value? You're getting a lot of haters in the process of making money, right? People will call you like all sorts of different things, or guru, or you call you a scam and all. I mean, like, I've been through all that kind of crap, right? So like people that believe, oh, you're so good, why do you want to be teaching? So the thing is, like, people don't understand. It's like, the rich always gets richer because they are always thinking of new ways to make money. It's not because you're rich and you stop trying new ways to make money, right? It's a different channel of making money. And why not, right? It's like you're just capitalizing on your knowledge and your skill sets to like help more people. So a lot of like, peasants or people that just don't understand the model, I usually just call them peasants because they're so poor and so stubborn in their own world that they're not even willing to see the different perspective. So I don't really have a lot of sympathy for people that are not willing to like change themselves, right? Obviously, they can go to Tony Robbins and all the different courses. It really does help. But if they go to all these things and they still want to be in their sadistic mindset of like, all right, the whole world is trying to scam me, right? It's not going to work. It's definitely not going to work, right? So like, which is why our number one rule in Capital Club is like, no peasants allowed, right? You have to have a king's mindset, regardless of what phase you are in life. Having a king's mindset sets you up with so many different, the way you feel is different, regardless. You're like, it's really tough. Like, I don't have a lot of money right now, but I've seen like, I think there's a movie about like Serena Williams' father. I forgot what show is that. Oh my God, that show motivated me, man. It's like this guy had the vision like so far ahead and made it happen. It's like incredible. Like I forgot what's the movie name, but it's really so empowering. Like, oh my God, it's like that guy deserves every single bit of success. Like regardless of how cocky shit he is or whichever, I don't care. But he's a visionary. Like he really did it way before the trainings. It's kind of like OKR, right? His objective is like, I want my daughters to be world champion, and how I'm getting there. It's so inspiring.
Yes.
So yeah, so I really wanted to like, focus on one thing. I've been doing a bunch of things, like a lot of different companies and all that, and I just really wanted to like consolidate my focus into just one. And I really want to see how that transforms over the years with Capital Club. So yeah, which is why we're excited to launch that. I'm starting to do my masterminds like again, because of COVID. There's so much things that we can't do. But I'm planning to launch one of like our new masterminds in Europe this September with my partners and all that. So we're gonna bring a lot of people to come in, because last time my masterminds are all focused on drop shipping, e-commerce, and all that. But this time around, we're going to be talking about marketing, stocks, NFTs, cryptocurrency, team building, operational stuff. It's going to be more like complete. Like it's kind of like, it's not just only in one focus. It's going to be like a complete, because when you start running real e-commerce, you realize that, oh shit, e-commerce is not just about e-commerce. I have to deal with HR, I have to deal with manpower, I have to deal with hiring, I have to deal with operations, I have to deal with finance. So these are all things that we want to be able to equip, like, our entrepreneurs with all, like all these different know-hows, knowledge, and everything to make them more prepared for like, whatever challenges that surfaces in the future.
That's awesome. Where can people find more about Capital Club, find out what you're doing? See, where's the best place for people to find out?
We recently just got our handles. It's called Capital Club at Instagram, right? And if people want to follow me, it's like they can just check me out on Instagram as well. I'm pretty more active nowadays on Instagram compared to Facebook. They can find me on Hey Steve Tan, HeySteveTan. Yeah, so pretty much post all my updates there. Like I don't really pitch things there on my Instagram. It's more like just like my day-to-day, my motivations, like how I see the market. Usually I drop a lot of like a lot of knowledge bombs for like crypto in the past few months. I think the last one probably made people like couple of like 8 figures among all the followers and people, and really crushed it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to like winning big with like my friends, my followers, my community, and really want to be able to make a big difference to people's lives.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much, Steve. I really appreciate you doing this. Like, I wasn't too sure if you were going to get back to me because it's been 3 years and you're kind enough to jump on a call. You booked in a time that worked for you straight away, and you've been just so kind and gracious with your time. So thank you so much, Steve.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for having me. Like, as I said, I've always loved connecting with all my friends. And of course, you guys are my students, turned friends. I'm always excited to connect with you guys. And I'm so happy that you're doing well, having all this studying.com, your courses and all that. I wish you all the best, bro. If you need anything from me or if there's anything I could help, provide value to you and your community, yeah, just let me know. I'm just a message away.
Thank you so much, Steve. So yeah, that's another episode of the podcast. Hope you guys got some value. If you guys made it through this far, thank you so much for your time, and I'll see you guys next week with another episode. Peace.